Hey guys, my New Year's is starting off excellent. My brother's bringing me to Colton's. But last night, before I went to the club, I got a phone call from my auntie, and she told me that my other aunt was in the hospital. So I called my other aunt's daughter, and yeah, she was in the hospital. She coded 3 times last night, and we all gathered up there this morning. I got there about 10 o'clock, and then everybody else got there about 3, and we're waiting for them to come and do that. Thank you, babe. Sprite goes here. And thank you, babe. It'll be just a second. He'll know what he wants.
Okay.
And you have a great day. And so they decided that they were going to let her go because the likelihood of her having brain damage was very severe. They said that her brain that does functioning was still working, but her brain that did the other stuff might not have been working. They couldn't tell until she wakes up, and that the medicine that she was on was what was keeping her alive, keeping her blood pressure elevated. And so we let everybody come. Uncle finally got there. My Aunt Joe got there, and my brother and my other cousin, who is her daughter, and got there. And then they turned off everything, and then she died at 3:23 this afternoon. So one of my favorite aunts just passed away. She's the one that everybody said I acted just like. So I'm gonna miss her. But I'll talk to y'all later. Bye guys.
Praise the Lord today for the opportunity to be able to come. And I'm going to tell you, as they called me the other day, and I answer every time my phone rings.
Well, today is Tuesday, I think it is. Tuesday, January the 7th. My auntie died on January the 1st, New Year's Eve of 2020. What a lovely day that was. She went into the hospital on the 31st because she had fell and broke her leg. Broke her bad leg. She had to have her lower part of her leg from the middle of her calf to her foot. She had to have that amputated because of an infection. And on the 31st, she was going to the restroom, and she fell and she broke the femur. I think that's the top part above your knee or your hip bone, something like that. And they were going to have emergency, so they had surgery for her. And she came out of surgery okay, and then she had 3 heart attacks, and she didn't come out of the heart attack. So that was on the 31st, New Year's Eve. And then my cousins and them decided to wait till my Aunt Jolene and my uncle could get there. So I got there like at 10 something, a little bit after 10. And then my uncle and got there at 3, and they decided to stop medication and let her go. And she passed away on January the 1st at 3:23 p.m. and everything. And then we had her funeral on Saturday the 4th. And it was a really nice ceremony. Everybody came, and it was nice. And then Sunday I was depressed, and then yesterday I was depressed. And I just feel kind of gloomy. I don't know if it was because the little slideshow that they put on, she had a lot of pictures of my mom in there. And it kind of got me emotional. It was, my mom died in November the 6th of 2016. So it's been 3 years, 16, 17, 18, 19, yeah, 3 years since she passed. And it's just weird. Y'all seen my aunt when I did my video of my mom's birthday party on September the 25th. We went to eat with my Aunt Sandra, my Uncle Junior, my Aunt Mary, and me and my brother. And so you got to meet her then. So I'm glad we got to do that. She sent me she sent me and Willie Joe a Christmas card, and we sent her one back, but we didn't get to go over there because holidays was kind of busy. And then but Sandra was one of my aunts that was really, really close to me. Now I have 2 aunts left and 1 uncle out of 6 kids. So 3 of them's already gone. Yeah. My mom used to say that I had my Aunt Sandra's personality because I was kind of bossy and I liked to control the situation. When I was younger, me and Leanne got into a confrontation on the bus when we was in 2nd grade. This little girl was picking on Leanne, and so then I had to finish it. Me and Leanne cried all the way home, and Aunt Sandra was like, "What happened?" And we told Aunt Sandra the next day, for the next 3 days, she made me go to school to pick out the person. We were in 2nd grade and the girl was in 6th grade. And she made us go pick out the person. And so for 3 days she went to school and had us walk the 6th, the 5th, and 6th grade until we found her. And then when I was in junior high and high school, her daughter Leanne liked Guess jeans, and she always thought I should wear them too, but I was a big girl. You can't find Guess jeans in big girl sizes. And but I used to like to go to Hancock Fabric, and I would pick out a pattern I liked. So I had short patterns, shirt patterns, and those jumpers. I don't remember what they were called, but were onesies, and I had those patterns, and I would go get all kinds of fabric, and then Aunt Sandra would make me all kinds of outfits. So I had all kinds of different clothes that Aunt Sandra made me, and I thought that was just so cool. And then my Aunt Sandra made my 8th grade prom dress, and she made both my junior and senior prom dresses. So she made my 8th grade graduation dress and my my junior and senior prom dresses. She made them. I would go pick out a pattern and we'd alter it to what I wanted it to look like. And then, so I always felt I could have anything. And then as we got older and stuff, it was always funny because she'd always tell Leanne, if Birdie's mom will let her do it, then I'll let you do it. And then I would talk Mom into letting me do it so that Leanne could do it. It was always so funny. But Aunt Sandra always still, would let us do it. So it was funny. She was my mom's older sister. It's my uncle, then my Aunt Sandra, and then my mom, then Aunt Jo, and then Leslie, and then my Aunt Janelle. She was from a previous relationship with my grandma, so she's the oldest. And she was raised by my grandma's daddy. And then when my Aunt Sandra, she used to do all kinds of stuff for us. We had our little moments though, like when she would always want to come over and control Grandma's house, and she would always want to tell them how to run it, and the kids would come running down to my house, and then I would run down there, and then I would confront Aunt Sandra. And then there was another incident I had to confront her. I was never afraid to confront her and tell her when she was doing something that was not appropriate and that she needed to step back and look at the situation. And then when she moved to Phoenix, Arizona, because her husband wanted to see if he could do his hand at preaching down there. So he left his church, the family church, and he he wanted to go to Arizona and be a preacher. So Sandra transferred her job. She was with the BIA. She transferred her job and she moved to Arizona, to Phoenix, Arizona. Well, they came back one day, and they came back, and then her daughter and her husband refused to go back with her, and she had a new contract, so she had to wait the contract out. So I went and quit my job, and I found out Friday that they weren't gonna go with her, and so I went back to work Saturday, and I was working at Walmart, and I told Mom had me get rid of my dog, so it was the first time I ever took my puppies to the pound. She told me she would keep Zoe, and she would keep my cat Gata, and she would keep my cat and my bird Kenda, but she wouldn't keep the 2 other dogs, so I had to give them up. So I was a bad owner and gave them up, but I gave them up that Friday. Saturday I went to work and quit my job, and my supervisor Flora said, "Don't quit, Birdie, I'll hold your job for you." And I said, "Well, I don't know how long it's going to be, because she has a contract for 6 months to a year." And so we went and so whenever that Sunday came, I got off work at 8 o'clock. I worked that shift, then I quit my job, and then Flora said, "I'll hold your job for you." And I said, "Okay." Then I went home and told Aunt Sandra, "I'll go with you." And then I went with her, but we ended up not having to stay that long. I think we stayed for maybe a month. It was so much fun. I had such a blast. Me and Aunt Sandra went hiking. We went mountain climbing. We did all kinds of stuff. It was so much fun. And then her boss decided to let her go of her contract, and then we came home. It was so much fun. And then I got my job back. It was awesome, but I stayed on my job for like maybe 2 months, but it was fun. But now she's gone. I'm gonna miss her, because she was our prayer warrior of the family. But we got her daughter Jamie. When I talk about Jamie, that's my Aunt Sandra's oldest daughter. So it was Jamie, Leanne, and then Maggie. And Aunt Sandra, you called and said, "Hey, Aunt Sandra, I need prayers." And then she would stop and she would pray for you. When we were younger, she made us sing at gospel singing, so she'd always have us sing "Roses Will Bloom Again" and other stuff. And then Maggie likes to sing a song at Grandma's funeral because it was one of Grandma's and my mom's favorite, and it was Prayer Warrior and all that stuff. But I'm gonna miss her. She had some plans, but she didn't get to do it because her husband died, and then she was kind of, her spirits were lifted, and then she found out she had cancer, so she went through chemo and radiation, and then she got a spot on her foot. Well, first she found out that her kidneys weren't functioning appropriately, so she started to have to take dialysis. Then she got a spot on her foot, and then her foot had to be amputated, and then she fell. But I'm gonna miss her. But she was really, really loved. When my mom passed, she would get so depressed that I had to give her a key to the house, because sometimes she just wanted to come and sit at the house, because I have Aunt Leslie and my mom's ashes here. My cousin Jamie has grandma's, and when I pass away, I'm going to be cremated, and Willie Joe's going to put me, Mama, and Leslie in a grave together with 3 hearts on the tombstone, so that we'll always be together, and he only has one place that he has to come and spend time with us. But so she would always come here just so that she could have some private time with my mom. I don't understand why she needed that, because I talk to Mom all the time, whether I'm here or not, and sometimes I talk to Grandma, because sometimes, I already told y'all about me hearing Mama talk to me, but I know that Mom rejoiced when she saw Aunt Sandra. I know that Sandra's husband rejoiced when he saw her. She was the caregiver of the family. She always had to be the harsh one, because everybody else liked to be lenient. Yeah. When Grandma died the first time, and Aunt Sandra, Grandma always said she didn't want to be revived, and Aunt Sandra was like, Aunt Sandra stepped over everybody's head and went ahead and revived her. When Grandma came back, she was like, who brought me back? And nobody would say nothing because Grandma was kind of upset. She said, I was at the skirt tail of Jesus and y'all bring me back. I was healed and y'all brought me back. And we said, and my grandma was so mad, she knew who did it. And then I just told her, you need to just let it be, because she just wanted you here a little bit longer. And we had her for 3 more years. But when you'd ask her, she would always say that we'd always say, Grandma, what color was God? And she would say he was whatever color you wanted him to be. He was the color of love. And so he was this color of love. But he's in all of us, so he's always going to be us. So I was brought up with a lot of faith and strong women. And Grandma was born to a preacher, and my grandpa Bertie my great-grandfather Bertie would walk to churches that needed him. My grandma would play the piano and do revival church and vacation Bible schools. And then Sandra ended up marrying Dale, and then Dale ends up being a preacher. And then she was a preacher's wife for, I think they said that he was in preacher for 24 years. They were together for 38. Yeah. But I'm gonna so miss her. I know my mom and her husband rejoiced at her when we mourn for her. But we mourn because we won't get to see her. But I still know that I'll get to talk to her. And she'll always be in my heart. I just feel badly for Nolan and Nathan. And for her grandbabies, Keaton and Meredith. Because they'll never get to experience all the stuff that we got to experience. She used to be so kind of weird. She used to wear short skirts. She was a preacher's wife, and at gospel singing, she'd wear short skirts. My mom would say, "Oh, that's so inappropriate," because she would dress like a teenager. And then when Leanne was little, when Leanne was stuck up, very much stuck up. And when she'd bring her friends over, Aunt Sandra would take out her teeth and talk to them. Leanne would get so mad. She'd be like, "Oh, that's so embarrassing." It was funny. Sandra was hilarious. She was a character. So now y'all got to know something about my Aunt Sandra. When we had our house fire, she let us move in with her. And then when we got blessed with the house that we live in now, it was 2 houses down from her. So the whole time my mom was alive, she was only 2 houses down from us. And then just recently she moved about a year, maybe 2 years ago. About 2.5 years ago, she moved into an apartment because her husband got sick and the yard was just too much for them to take care of. So they had already liquidized a lot of stuff and moved into an apartment. And so it's going to be hard on Maggie because Maggie relied a lot on her mom. Jamie is a counselor for a church, and she's with her husband, who is a pastor, is a preacher, but he's just a deacon at his church right now. And then, but she's a counselor. And then Leanne is a realtor. Is a insurance agent in Yukon, so she's already away. Maggie was the youngest, and that was her mom and her dad. And she lived with them and relied a lot on them. And when her dad died, she was just dealing with that. And now it hasn't even been that long since Dale passed, and since her dad passed, and now she doesn't have any of them. So that has to be hard. I had my mom, and yeah, I pulled the plug on Mama too. I let her go. I always used to tease my mom and say I was going to keep her forever and ever and ever. Now I understand why I didn't do it, because got the bill. It was like $79,000 just for the 3 days she was on there. Not true, for the 2 days she was on there. But I knew she was gonna die, and because she had cancer in 2011, and then in 2016 she found out she had stage 4. In March of 2016 she found out, and then she started having complications and was in and out of the hospital August, September, October, and then she was in the hospital in October, and then they weren't going to let her out, and she was like, "I want to leave." And so my mom chose to leave the hospital, And the doctor said if she leaves Birdie, she's not strong enough to go back and forth to dialysis. Without dialysis, she can only live 14 days before the toxins of not having dialysis kills her. And so Mom knew the consequences, and she wanted to go home. So we got her on hospice. And then every Tuesday and every Wednesday, Tuesday the family church at Butler Creek came and did church services with her. And then on Wednesdays, my Aunt Sandra and her husband, they came and did church services and brought my mom's church here. And so they had church on Wednesday and Tuesday and Wednesday for her. And those 2 weeks that she was, homebound, that she's on hospice. Thursday, on the before she passed, she had all kinds of energy. And she wanted to go do stuff. So we went and did stuff. She wanted to go play machines. I think I already told you about that. And then I got to tell her that I loved her and that it was okay for her to leave me. I don't see how Maggie and them could... I don't understand how they are dealing with it, because I got to say my goodbyes. I knew my mom was suffering, and I got to tell her goodbye. And I would not know how to handle it if my mom was fine that morning, had surgery, and then never woke up. Me and Mom fought a lot. Well, we didn't fight. We had disagreements, everybody says. I would get so aggravated. If I would have lost her sudden and wouldn't have been able to tell her the stuff that I got to tell her, I would have a lot of resentment. I know that she had her two... I know that there was 3 of them that got to make the choice. But for their mom to go in, have surgery, and then not come back, I feel for them. And I'm so glad that they have faith and know that she's... When I found out from my Aunt Jo, I didn't even find out from the kids. When I found out from Aunt Jo that Aunt Sandra was in the hospital, I called Jamie and I asked Jamie how she was doing before I went to my New Year's Eve party. And she told me that they wouldn't know for sure until the next day, but that she didn't look good. And I told her that I would say a prayer for her. And then I told her that if something did happen, that she would be with my mom and with Dale, and that she'd be okay. And then I said, I don't want her to leave us, but if it happens, she'll be with Grandma, her dad, my mom, my cousin Mandy, and Hunter, and that she would be okay, but I would say a prayer for her. And then I hung up the phone, and then we went out and we went partying, and then I woke up, and then I had Lisa and Crystal take me to the hospital, and so that's what we did and then that's when we found out. When my mama passed, when my mom finally started having problems breathing, Tasha and her little boys were here because they had spent the night that night. And Tasha said, Birdie, Aunt Janet says she's having problems breathing. And so then I went in there and I called her hospice people. And then they called the ambulance. And my uncle showed up right at the appropriate time. And then the hospice told me to call Willie because didn't look good. So then I called Willie and told him that he needed to come home from work. And then they took her to the hospital. And on the way to the hospital, she had cardiac arrest. And they did CPR. And then she went into a coma. And then I had everybody at the hospital. Everybody at the hospital. And then I talked to Jamie, and we talked to the whole family. And then we all decided to let her go. And then she died at, I think it was 10 o'clock that night. And I don't remember the exact time. It was like 10 something. And we let her go. And, but I had everybody around me. I had extended family, like, my mom's cousins on her dad's side. And the preacher and Norman, our preacher that did, her cousin who did the service and stuff. We were all there. Everybody got to say their goodbyes to her. And that's how we did it at Sanders too. They let us all go back in there and we got to say our goodbyes to her. I think she heard us too. I think she was ready to go. Maggie told a story about her dad's spirit leaving his body. And because they had to do that to him too, they had to decide on letting him go too. That's the hardest decision. If my mom wouldn't have been sick, I probably still would have her on life support. If I would have thought I could. If I would have been able to afford it, I probably would have. She'd probably cuss at me. I could just hear her. But now I can just hear them just talking and just having a gay old time. And just celebrating. I know my mom was ready for her because Saturday before the funeral, that night I dreamt of Mom. And it was like she was here. And in my dream she was getting ready for Sandra's funeral. And then I woke up. And then me and Willie Joe went and exercised and joined a fitness challenge. And then we went to the funeral. And then we just all fellowshipped and talked about her. I just can't believe she's gone. And I'm really gonna miss her. So, if y'all believe in prayers like I do and believe in Jesus Christ, just say a short prayer for my Aunt Sandra's kids. Because they're gonna need it. Right now, I think it's okay. But, when I let Mom go and everything, I was okay for the first couple of days. And then I started Googling on Facebook, all the stuff. And then I started thinking that I pulled the plug too soon because she probably could have recovered. And Jamie had to talk to me and tell me, Birdie, don't do that. You need to stop researching it and just let it be. There's nothing you can go back and change. You've already made the decision and you made the right decision. But it hit me a couple weeks afterwards. And then I was just like, I shouldn't have done it this way. I should have did it this way. I should have did it this way. Blah, blah, blah. And it hit me then. It didn't hit me at the time. And I didn't have to deal with anything. Like, I didn't have to write my mom's obituary because my mom wrote it. Because I told her that if she didn't write it, that I wasn't going to put a lot of people in it. Because I just wasn't. I was just going to be as minimal as possible. And then my Uncle Terry and my Aunt Jo went with me to the funeral home. And the tribe paid for the whole funeral, but before that, my Uncle Terry was going to pay for a lot of it, but he wasn't going to tell me, but he was going to pay for a lot of it. And then, but luckily for us that the tribe paid for it. And then my Aunt Sandra picked out the outfit that my mom wore. And then my Uncle Junior picked out the picture that went in the announcement deal. And so it was a family deal. And I don't think I would have been able to deal with that without all my family coming together and being a part of it, because I'm a selfish person. Oh my God, I'm selfish. I want everything my way, and I am really, really selfish. And if I wouldn't have had them to ground me, the funeral probably would have been all about me and nobody else. It would have been about Mom and me, and I probably would not have invited anybody. I didn't put the obituary in the newspaper, so it would have been selfish of me. So luckily for me, I had all them to ground me and put me in my place to a certain degree. And so with theirs was a little bit more. Theirs was, it was a really good service. Yeah. And I'm glad that they were able to step up and do it, which and they did it in no time flat. She died Wednesday and they had the funeral Saturday. Mom died Sunday and I didn't have the funeral until the following Saturday. And because I kind of lingered. I'm terrible. But yeah. I was going to say something, but it just totally flew away from my thought. Probably because I shouldn't have. I probably would have said something that would have totally been off-putting. And then this morning, Monday morning, January the 6th. Today is the 7th, right? Yeah. And then January the 6th, we wake up and look on Facebook, and we have a community deal where it's just family, and we a group part. And then we found out that my aunt's husband's mom and my Uncle Terry, my Aunt Joe's husband's mom, Thelma Smith, passed away. She was in the nursing home, and she had her ups and downs, but they were talking about her and at the funeral and stuff, and how her spirits were. My mom and my brother were really, really, really close to her. I didn't stay down there for a long time, so I would take Mom up there for the weekend, but I would meet my aunt halfway, and I'd let Mom go with her for weeks at a time. And when Willie Joe was younger, he would go up there and stay weeks at a time. So they were a lot closer to Thelma. Thelma was a great lady, and my Uncle Terry's a really awesome guy. And so he had to be raised by an awesome person. And so it was kind of alarming to wake up and realize that she passed away too. We believe that things happen in threes. So I was telling Crystal today, I said, I wonder what the third thing is going to be. And so it's kind of nerve-wracking. And hopefully it's not going to happen in threes. And hopefully everything was like it should be. I wish it would rain. I really do wish it would rain. But that's just me. But please, guys, just say a prayer for them, because just remember them in your thoughts and your prayers, because my cousins, my Aunt Sandra's 3 daughters, and my Aunt Jo and all her kids, because of their grandma and their aunt, I just couldn't imagine. And but they need to be lifted up in prayers, and uh and just thought about, because they're going to have some really hard times. Most, you know how it is. But I love you guys, and I'll talk to y'all later.